So when I think of Thanksgiving, I think of family, friends, and food. But if you really think about it, you could say the same for weddings. So maybe that's why so many couples, especially in Love Black History, decided to get married around this holiday. I don't know. But anyway, welcome to another episode of I'll Tell You What, the podcast that's all love, Black history. I'm Ashley, your favorite raconteuse that brings you these stories every Monday. If you're watching on the Tube of You, hit subscribe and make sure you hit the notification button so you get updated every time a new episode drops. And to help the show continue to run and to really provide support, head on and become an official All Runner on Patreon. That way you also get more Love Black History pretty much almost every single day of the week. So like I was saying, Thanksgiving is a time for food, family, and reflection. But what if we added weddings to that mix? What does that mean? How does that vibe? What happens? Well, I read about quite a few couples that decided to take that next stage in their life and do the thing around Thanksgiving. So you know what time it is. Soon, I'll tell y'all all about it. Almost 50 years ago this week, on Saturday, November 26, 1977, Shirley Chisholm finally married the love of her life at a Sheraton Inn in Buffalo, New York. So, before the man who would become her second husband, Arthur Hardwick, really was in the picture, Shirley was already a force to be reckoned with. In 1968, she became the first Black woman elected to the U.S. Congress, representing New York's 12th District. Known for her slogan, "Unbought and Unbossed," she championed racial and gender equality, education reform, and social justice. Then, she was married to Conrad O. Chisholm, a man who was known to be a very supportive husband that she had been married to since October of 1949. But it wasn't until a Christmas party in 1974, when Shirley took Arthur, not Conrad, that people began to speculate that their marriage might be in peril. Now, you might be wondering, who is Arthur? Where did he come from? How did she even meet him? Well, they met back when they were in the New York State Assembly together in the mid-1960s. They reconnected later, more than likely, though exactly when is something I don't know. But by the following summer, so summer of 1975, the media began to report of the end of Shirley and Conrad's marriage. Though Shirley would adamantly deny it, it would become so by February 1977. Like most marriages that end in divorce, their marriage was likely over well before that. As Shirley said, Conrad, quote, became insanely jealous, so much so that she, quote, really felt afraid of him. She never detailed any abuse or anything like that, but she did say she knew she needed to, quote, get out. And she did. So 5 months after her divorce, Arthur proposed on the 4th of July. And 4 months later, on November 26, 1977, Shirley and Arthur got married at the Sheraton Inn in Buffalo in front of about 150 guests, but none of which were her relatives. She wore, quote, a light beige wedding gown with ruffles around the collar and the end of the sleeves. According to Dr. Anastasia C. Kerwood, the wedding dinner was, quote, a carved steamship round of beef, salmon Bellevue, and a champagne toast. And they also had an open bar. They held a second reception in Brooklyn about a week later on December 4th. Arthur was what Shirley needed then. By that point, she had dedicated so much of her life to her career. She was the first Black woman to be a presidential candidate on a major ticket, the first woman to run for president as a Democrat, and also the first Black woman elected to Congress. She didn't need a blue bracelet because she was already doing the work, and everybody knew that. But you know what? change makers deserve this soft life too. They deserve to get their feet rubbed after a long day of work, a good old back massage, or let me treat you to something without even being prompted. You know how we've been saying that as Black women, we deserve to take time off and stop trying to save the world since nobody's going to listen to us anyway. And finally, somebody else to do it. Well, Shirley must have just gotten to that stage in life. She had put in the work, she put in the time, and now it was time for someone else to continue the fight. So, in 1983, she retired from Congress to spend more time with her man. They enjoyed 3 years together before he passed away in 1986 from prostate cancer. So, what do y'all remember about Shirley and Arthur? If you missed the episode on Shirley, by the way, head to the tube of you to watch that entire episode. It was really good. Oh. And speaking of November 26th, because that was a popular day to get married, another couple 4 years later would get married that same day. And that's Cicely Tyson and Miles Davis. Okay. Now, a wedding that probably shouldn't have taken place, but did on Thanksgiving Day 1981, was the wedding of Cicely Tyson and Miles Davis. So some people marry for the potential of what the marriage could be, hoping it'll solve problems that occurred within the relationship or even within themselves. For Miles and Cicely, they'd been together for about 15 years off and on by then. Miles met Cicely as his first marriage was coming to an end. He told the media he was going to marry her once the divorce was finalized, but instead, he married another woman 9 months later. Now, they would end up back together in the late 1970s, and by December 1979, Miles would have proposed to Cicely 3 times. But she didn't initially accept because she wrote, quote, "I thought our relationship was fine as it was." But eventually she said yes because, quote, "he'd worn me down." So after putting the wedding off for some time, they decided to get married at the Cosby home since they had been invited over for Thanksgiving dinner. Now, they made this decision without actually asking the Cosbys, but they were hopeful they'd agree to it. And obviously they did. So, with the venue and dinner already planned, there wasn't much else they really had to do outside of just getting their wedding day looks together. And this is where I come to remind you, the thing I remind y'all all the time when I tell you these wedding stories, is that there will always be something that goes wrong around your wedding day, and there is nothing you can do about it. For some, it's just a minor inconvenience, and for others, it is truly a sign of what is to come. So for Cicely's preparation of the marriage, it was several things. First, it was how half of her hair fell out of her head because she got a relaxer. And the second was she lost her mother's wedding band that she so dearly wanted to wear in honor of her mom and keep her close to her on her wedding day. But you know what? Despite those 2 alarms, they continued on with the wedding. So before Thanksgiving dinner at 4 p.m. in front of 12 guests, Cicely and Miles got married. Bill, who walked Cicely down the aisle, was Miles's best man, and Camille was Cicely's matron of honor. Some of the guests that were also there were Atlanta Mayor Andrew Young, who officiated, and his wife Jean, comedian Dick Gregory and his wife Lillian, actor Clarence Williams III and his wife, actress Gloria Foster. None of Cicely nor Miles's family were told about the wedding, let alone invited, not even her daughter. Cicely wore a dress, quote, using gold-tinged lace for the bodice and a billowy cream chiffon for the skirt and sleeves, and used the same fabric for her shoes and a cap to cover her relaxer-destroyed hair. Miles wore a Brooks Brothers suit. I couldn't find any pictures from that day, so don't ask. And they didn't honeymoon, but they would go on a quick trip to New Orleans between work obligations. They would remain married until 1989 after Cicely discovered Miles had cheated on her. But I'll have to tell y'all all about that on another day. So yeah, that's the story of the wedding of Cicely Tyson and Miles Davis. Oh, and she did find her mother's wedding band. after the wedding. It just appeared on the bed. Reflecting on that moment, Cicely wrote, quote, "I realize now, decades later, that my mother was attempting to get a message to me. She navigated the passageway of my father's infidelity and did not want that for me." Continuing with the spirit of Thanksgiving, let's remember the engagement that's embedded in Love Black History. Would you accept a proposal if someone asked you while they were at work? Would you accept a proposal if someone asked you through the TV? Quote, "This is Thanksgiving Day, and if she does not accept my proposal, I'll be the biggest turkey in the nation," said former wide receiver and NFL analyst Ahmad Fakih. This was during the 1985 NFL season when Ahmad was hosting NBC's pregame show, NFL 85, ahead of the Jets-Lions Thanksgiving game in Detroit. During the broadcast, while talking with colleague sportscaster Bob Costas, Ahmad said, quote, "Bobby, I got something I want you to do for me. There's a lady that I'm in love with, and you know the lady as Claire Huxtable on The Cosby Show. What I'd like you to do is dispatch somebody. She's there in New York at the Macy's Day Parade. Now, this is in all serious now. I would like to send this message to her. Felicia, would you marry me? Would you get back to me, Bobby, on that answer?" Now, imagine your significant other proposing into the void like this, you being completely unaware until an intern taps you on the shoulder and asks you to come to the NBC studio. Also, imagine this happening, but actually, it could have been spoiled because the night before, sportscaster Mark Rosen shared it on the night news in Minneapolis. He chatted with Ahmad earlier, who told him what he was planning on doing, and he asked for permission, like, "Hey, can I share this?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, it's fine." But, that was also a time in which it took a lot for news to travel in such a short amount of time. So, meanwhile, every Jets and Lions fan, plus probably some St. Louis Cardinals and Cowboys fans, and every other football schmuck that had games on, probably wanted to know her answer. And Felicia didn't even know there was a question to answer. So after Ahmad popped the question, the intern found her and brought her back to the studio where she would sit across from Bob Costas. They played the proposal back to her. So then Bob asked her, quote, "So are you going to marry him?" And of course she said yeah. After she answered, Ahmad dropped his microphone, according to Jet Magazine. Then he said, I'm cool. Bob also asked Felicia if Bill, meaning Cosby, would give her away, and she said he would. He had already given the blessing for this to take place. They would not wait long at all to get married. They initially said they were going to get married January 18th, 1986, but decided to change their minds. About 2.5 weeks later, on December 14th, they got married in front of 30 guests, including her son from a previous marriage, her mom, her sister Debbie Allen, who was her matron of honor, Bill and Camille Cosby, and O.J. Simpson, who was Ahmad's best man and former teammate. Almost exactly a year later, they had their daughter, Condola, and Felicia and Ahmad would remain married until 2001. Now, I know y'all remember this story because I've told y'all like 3 times. But either way, let me know what you remember about that. If you had to pick your Thanksgiving meal based off what these couples ate at their wedding, which one would you pick? All right. Option A, Alan and Tawana Iverson's dinner of stuffed chicken with basmati rice, dried cherries, and golden raisins and Grand Marnier sauce, grilled salmon with citrus sauce or prime rib au jus with a shrimp and lobster risotto appetizer, and the dessert would be wedding cake with alternating layers of carrot cake and lemon curd with raspberries. Okay. Or option B, Bob and Rita Marley's wedding dinner of cooked curry goat, rice with green bananas, and a 3-sister cake. Or option C, Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr. and Hazel Scott's beet salad, potato salad, chicken salad, shrimp salad, and chef salad. Or option D, Sugar Ray Leonard and Bernadette Roby's dinner, which was your choice of roasted duck or broiled white fish, salad with goat cheese, warm apple tarts with ice cream in addition to a lemon wedding cake with raspberries. Tell me which one of these y'all would prefer to eat or not eat and why. I am very curious. Hey y'all, let's just go ahead and wrap this episode with the other couples that got married around Thanksgiving. So, if you couldn't tell, a lot of historical Black couples got married on or around Thanksgiving. One couple you might not have known about was actually the parents of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Sr., then known as Michael, and Alberta, got married on November 25th, 1926 at Ebenezer Baptist Church. He knew that she was going to be his wife before he even met her. He would get dressed up and walk past her home every day just to get a glimpse from her. She once appeared outside and smiled at him, which was all he needed. 6 years later, they would get married after getting the approval from her father, Reverend A.D. Williams. Another couple that got married around this time of the year was Ira Aldridge, a Black Shakespearean actor from 19th century Europe, and Margaret Gill, a white English woman. They got married on November 27th, 1825. Their marriage upset those who were pro-slavery, but it didn't matter, because not only did they get married, they stayed married until 1864 when she passed away. And in 1952, November 29th to be precise, Mattie Moss Clark, the gospel powerhouse, married Elbert Clark in a union that birthed a true musical dynasty, the Clark sisters. They did divorce in 1973, however. Another wedding that happened a little bit more recently than the others occurred on December 1st, 1996, and that was the marriage of actress Jackée Harry to hairstylist Elgin Charles Williams in Beverly Hills. They got married in front of more than 550 guests. Now, they would get a divorce in 2003, but they remain really good friends and co-parents. But did I miss any? Did y'all know any of this? What did or didn't you know? Please share, let me know. And hopefully this is going to be a good Thanksgiving holiday for all of y'all that celebrate. Don't forget to follow everywhere, subscribe, and I will see y'all in the pews.